Hello, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming at my session regarding Drupal and NextJS. My name is Vincenzo Gambino. I'm a Drupal developer from London. I've been a speaker at several Drupal camps around Europe, and I'm the co-author of the book Jumpstart Jamstack Development. I work at Concentrix, which is a customer engagement and business performance consulting firm based in the US, and we use Drupal to build an employee ideation platform. During this session, I'm going to explain the differences between progressive decoupled, fully decoupled, and headless. What is Node.js? We're going to explore the Node.js for Drupal module and package. We're going to see how to install it, configure it, and then we're going to see how the authentication system works. And at the end, there will be a demo and a Q&A. First, we start with the difference between decoupled and headless. Decoupled can be divided in two parts. Is progressive decoupled, where a React component in this example, but can be also a Vue.js or Angular component, for example, is embedded into the Drupal theme and is getting data from Drupal through JSON API or passed through variables or any other type of source. Fully decoupled is when there is another application, front-end application, totally separate from Drupal and is getting data from JSON API or any other type of source. And the headless is when you have a Drupal application and you spread it content using JSON API to the rest of the world. The difference between headless and fully decoupled is that in a fully decoupled project, you build the application, so the front end and the back end together. So you build the back end thinking about how it's going to look in the front end. So you generate the views, you export the views in JSON or any other type of things that can fit the front end. In the headless, you don't know which application is going to use your resources. So you build the application, you put all the data you want, and then just you give the key and the endpoint to get the data from Drupal. And any other application could be another NextJS application or an Alexa app or something else. Let's talk about NextJS. NextJS is a JavaScript library for building interactive user interfaces, and it gives you the building block to create a web application. And it also has all the additional structure, features, and the optimization for your application. The building blocks are user interface, which is how the user will consume your application, the routing, how we'll be navigating between pages. Data fetching is where your data lives and how you're going to get it. Rendering is if you want to render static application or dynamic content. And then integration, in this case, will be Drupal. So which third-party service we use and how you connect to them. The Next.js project structure is this one. So we have the environment file. For Next, the configuration, the well-known Node modules folder, the packages, the pages folder where all the routes live, the public folder where all the static HTML will be generated, the styles that contains the CSS, and then the TypeScript configuration if you're using TypeScript in your project. Next.js has a file system-based router built on concept of pages. Basically, every file that has been added into the pages folder will automatically become a route. So within my pages folder, I have the index, so the homepage of my application. Then in the About Us will be available as a route. So it will be my site / About Us, and the content of the page will be the content of the file. Then I can also add nested routes. So I have, for example, a list of articles. So I create the landing page for articles, creating a folder and adding the index. So the index will be a list, for example, of articles. And then because I don't know all the path of all the articles, I can create dynamic routes. Dynamic routes can be created in this way. So having the square brackets and then passing the parameters, in this case, slug, but can also be an ID or something else. And then within the file, there will be a system that will generate the content. If I don't know the full structure of the path, so if it's something else apart from article, About Us, or index, I can use the spread operator. And in this case, we'll deconstruct the entire path, and then we'll build the path for Next.js. If the page uses a static generation, the HTML will be generated and added to the public folder. Of course, it will be used for the next on each request. It can be cached by the CDN. And of course, we have a huge performance spike. So we'll improve the performances. And you can generate the pages with or without data. With data, you just pass the content within the function. So you have the About Us page, and in the About function, you just add the content of the page. When you generate static page with data, you need an external source or something else to get all the data, and it will build the page in that occasion. And you need two functions, one or two functions, depending on the data. You have the static props, that gets the actual data of the page, or you have the static path that generates all the paths that are available for the application. And usually it's used with static props. So when we want to fetch a page, for example, a list of blogs from Drupal, we can have our page with a list of post titles. And then in our get static props, we have the call fetch to the post URL. Then we return the JSON, and we pass it the posts as props. And they will be available to our function, so we can deconstruct and do the post title. When we want the static path is when there are more pages available for NextJS. So I will build all those pages based on those paths. So again, we use the getStaticPath function. We get all the posts, and we pass the ID. So the page will be based on the ID. So the URL of the page in NextJS will be based on the ID of the blog. And then we return all the paths. So in this case, our blog post page will have our post showing all the fields. We generate the static path we saw before. And in this case, our static props will receive the ID of the page, so the ID of the post. So the route will be like post and ID1. So we'll get the post, and again, we passed as a props. And we will show here with title, images, body, and all the fields that are contained in the post. Server-side rendering is when you want to have a new available data for the page. So, for example, it does a request on each page load, and cannot be cached, and of course has a huge impact on performances. And in this case, we use this function. So we had the get server-side props, and is similar to the static props, but these will be run on each page request. Now let's talk about the Next.js for Drupal. Next.js for Drupal has everything you need to build the front end and the back end. So it has the JSON API client, data fetching, the CRUD, internal authorization, authentication, multi-site, and security. So in the Drupal side, we install it by installing the Next.js Drupal module. So we had the Next.js module, the JSON API menu item, the views, resources. Then we have also the Decoupled router, path auto, simple auth, and sub requests. We need to apply patches because on the sub request, we get the same result on different requests. And then for the Decoupled router, we need to have the language. We can set the language so we can then have different language on our applications. So we install the module again. Now we can create the Next.js project. We're going to use for this demo the chapter 3 Umami demo. They're doing a great job building the front end for Next.js and connecting to Drupal. So we clone the repo, we run the yarn install, and then we add the base URL for Drupal and the image domain. Now we're going to have a look what the Next.js for Drupal gives us to connect Drupal. So we can get, for example, a collection, so a list of articles. So when we want to make a call to Drupal through a JSON API, we need to call of course, the endpoint, the node endpoint, and then pass all the parameters through JSON API. In this case, they gave us this function, and then you can pass the parameters directly in here, and we build the query for us. So we get a resource collection, we get a list of articles, and we return it as a props. The same thing can be done for a resource. So for a single article, we have the get resource, we pass the content type, and then we pass the UID of the page. Of course, we can pass any other parameters we want to look for the page. So in this case, I'm using the UUID. Then, if we want to get the static path, so if we want to build all the pages based on all the list of node page we have on our site, we use the get static path from context. So we pass the content type, and it's building, again, all the pages for us. And then once all the paths are built, then we can get the props based on that path. So we have the get resource from context. We pass again the content type and then the context of the page, and it returns the node. So we can pass then to the page to be shown. Then we can also create resources. So in this case, we can create a node page. So we call the create resource function. We pass the content type. Then we pass the data, such as title and body. Then we can also create a file. In this case, so we create files resource. We pass the file type, then the type, the field that needs to be added, then the file name, and then where the file lives. And after the file has been created, we can create a media. With the create resource function. So we pass the media image, then the name, and then the file ID that we just created. Now, to use the create function, of course, you need an authentication. It's what we're gonna talk about now. On the Drupal side, for this demo, we are using simple auth. So we go to the configuration page of simple auth. We generate the keys. We enter the directory name where the keys are going to be stored. And of course, has to be outside of the Drupal root, usually put in private keys. Then we go to a consumer, or we create a new one, or we edit the default, and we add a new password to connect to the consumer and save. Then we need to enable the JSON API write operation on the Drupal side that allows to create, read, update, and delete the nodes or the other entities. Then on the NextJS application, we need to pass on the environment file. We need to pass the next auth secret, the URL, our client Drupal client ID, the one that we just edited, and then the client secret, the one that we just created. NextJS Auth is a basically complete open source authentication solution for Next. It works with any Auth service and OpenID. So in this case, we're going to use Auth. Then is support many popular sign-in, email password, and JS Web Token. How we install it? We install it as normally as a package. So we install NextAuth, and after that, we need to configure the route handler. So and then we need to configure the shared session state. The route handler basically will manage all the requests that will be sent for sign in, to sign out, and request a new password, all this kind of operations. So we'll override the default from NextAuth. And we do it creating this file. So with the spread operator at nextauth.js in the pages API auth folder. And then we can configure the file. So we have the credential provider. So we define the providers, Drupal with the credential, username, and password. Then we run the authorize. We define the authorize function. So where the request should be sent and how the form should be built. So we have here the grant type, the client ID, which is coming from Drupal. The secret again is the Drupal client secret, and the username and the password. We send it to Drupal using auth token with the method post. We pass the form data. And if it's successful, we add the token in our access token that then will be used to do the request, the create request or get request. Then we can also override events. So for example, what's going to happen when the user signs out. In this case, we're going to clear the JW token, JS Web Token. Then we can have also the callback, how the JW token should be set, and how can be refreshed. And then also how we're going to set the session. So these parameters are going to be passed to the client side to be used by the session provider. Here is our session provider. In our file underscore app.js, we're going to add the session provider wrapper here. So now on each page load, it's going to check the session. So we have the session available for our pages. And now we can create a login form. So we have the login form, and the submit function can be handled like that. So we have the user press submit, press login. we pass the credential to the in function, and the next auth file that we configured before will be called, and we handle the username and password that will be sent to Drupal and come back with a session, with a token. So how can we use the session then? So we can use the function getSession. If the session is not set, then we can redirect the user to login, or if it's set, we can use it for request. So in this case, if the session is set, we can use the access token to access an article or to create an article by passing the with auth parameter to the function. Here's the resources. So this is the demo that I'm going to do will be based on the chapter 3 Umami demo that shows how to connect NextJS into Drupal. How can you use the login? How can you create a resource from Umami? And how, when you create a resource from Drupal, will be automatically available on the front end. So here I have. Okay, so here I have my application, my Drupal application, with all the content here. And here I have my Umami application. Here I can see I have all the content available from Drupal. So I have the articles, the recipe, and everything, and I can load it from here. All those content are coming from Drupal. And I can log in. And now I can see my account. This is still the NextJS application. So I go to my account. I already have created a content. And here, for example, from here, I can delete content. And now in Drupal, the content is not available anymore. I can also create a new article. I can upload an image. They can create the article. And it's available here, and of course, again, is available on the Drupal side. I can, for example, edit from here. So, for example, I can add the path alias from here. I can add a tag, publish it. Now, if I go to my homepage on the Umami demo on the NextJS side, it will be available here and can be seen as well. It also have the multilingual, so I can have it here. I can click here and see all the content in their language in Spanish. Of course, I can translate as well mine. Now it should be available. Spanish version is available now. As I said, this demo is based on the chapter 3 demo, and all the documentation can be found here. So here it has to set up basic Drupal site. can have a demo here as well. Here there are how to work with JSON API. So do a get, a post, patch, and delete request. For example, here it explains how to do it using the JSON API. There are building pages, so basic example if you want to explore more. So there are get resource, how to build a page, getting a resource, a particular resource. So you have the file about page, for example, about us, and you get the content from Drupal, you pass it to the props, and then you can show the node title here. And this file can live under the pages folder. Here, again, is how to create dynamic pages. So if you don't know the URL, we'll create the slug as well here. And you have, again, the static props. So it's going to loop through all the node pages, build all the pages, and based on the URL, so almost like on the D, it gets, so from the context, it gets the right page, and pass it through the function and show it to the page. You can also have more example here. And here, there are all the references for the get resource from context, then shall delete, get pass from context, translate path. For example, we have the preview, the get access token. So this is when we need to get the access token to do some operation on Drupal that requires to be logged in. Then in here in the guides, there is also some other documentation. So how to pass the JSON API parameters when you want to build more, when you want to have like more queries. So for example, you want to have you want to call some node based on some fields. So in here you can get you can build the JSON API parameters. So you have the fields, the filters, includes and sorts. So any relationship, everything will be here, and then can be passed as a parameters in the get resource collection from context, for example. Here we have again the UMI demo, the one that we just saw. So how to install it and configure it. So here the NextJS part. We have again the route syncing as well here. Another thing could be the web forms. Let me see. We have the web forms, for example, so you can create a web forms on NextJS, and then so you create the form on NextJS and send data to a web form in Drupal. And this can be done, of course, through the API. You need the module web form REST, and then on the client side you build the form, and then you pass and you do a fetch request to the web form. You can also do the search in here, so you need the facet and the JSON API search. And here you can implement a search page on your application. Okay, so I think I talked too fast, and I'm basically now in the Q&A. Thanks.
Thanks a lot for the presentation.
Thanks.
Amazing, super informative, exhaustive. Okay, in these cases, I always think myself, okay, the future of Drupal is headless. I don't really know, because it is amazing to see how this is able to do something that Drupal already does. So basically, we say, wow, great, but for something, so we are able to implement login, permission, maybe we didn't see edit, but we could do that now, the edit of the content. So my question is, which is the advantage of going in this way, if not but to make our React team happy, no? What is the advantage of going here rather than, because maybe we lose, if we implemented the layout builder or layout paragraph layouting, we should also decouple that. So sometimes this kind of stuff to me looks rather than decoupling, recoupling, no, in another way. So I'm thinking also progressive decoupling. What do you think about if it is not a matter of going to a mobile application of some other support that is not a web page, which is the real advantage of going this way?
So that's depend on the project, and of course, when you go fully decoupled, of course, you need the Drupal team that works on Drupal and part of the front end as well, because the editors must be able to add content. If it's not, if they don't use the default team, then you need another team for Drupal, for the admin team, and then you need another team for another React team, Next.js team, or whatever other service you are using. This is the advantage I see only when you can use a headless application. So you have Drupal that manages all the data, and then, as you said, you have I don't know, an iOS app, an Android app, and then some other app somewhere, so an Alexa app, whatever, and then you can build another web application using Next.js. So I can see more on a headless. If you want to use React into Drupal, with Drupal, maybe it's better a progressive decoupled solution when you embed React into the Drupal theme or in a module. So in that case, you don't have issues with session, login, and tokens because everything is handled within Drupal. And you can make requests through JSON API as well from a block in Drupal. But the session, everything will be handled automatically within Drupal because it's from the same domain. Or you can pass variables from the block. So if you create a React block, then you can pass a variable from here, so all the props, and it will be fine. So the advantages will be only on a decoupled, on a headless situation. Thanks. Thank you. After that.
Thank you for your talk. I have a similar question. I want to know why or where is the advantage of using Next.js and not another fancy tool?
So well, I don't know. There is no really advantages because there is Next.js, there is Next.js. You can use Vue, you can use React. So when you use Next or Next, for example, they already have the building blocks placed in there. So it's a framework of a JS library. So when you use React or Vue.js, then you need to add on top all the module and all the folder structure. In this case, Next.js gives you everything already there. So we can create path easily from adding the pages file, the files on the pages folder. We have the function inside like get static props and get static path that will build, will speed up the process of building the application. And then depending on your teams, what resources are available, what is fancy now, what is trending or not. So it's.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the talk.
Thanks.
I have a question. Can this solution provide component resolution, like for using it with Layout Builder?
Well, you can. I think conceptually you can. So with the Layout Builder, you need, of course, to export the Layout Builder configuration. And then you need to match the same style and the same template on the Next.js side. So if you can match those, the position, or you have some kind of logic that will put everything, all the blocks that you place with Layout Builder in the same place in Next.js, then it will be fine. So maybe we can extend the Layout Builder to use JSON API, and then we'll render all the configuration.
Okay, thank you.
This is the concept anyway. So.
Thank you for the session.
Thanks.
My question is, how do you handle caching in this architecture? Do you also cache frontend? And if yes, do you pass somehow Drupal tags to the front end so that when you update an article, the front end cache is also invalidated?
Yeah, you can trigger, of course, rebuild all the front-end application on a node save, for example. So every time you update some article, you can push the new data, new build, or you can set on the get static props. You can set a timeout. So, for example, you can have like every 10 minutes you can rebuild the page. The HTML will be rebuilt on the Next.js side. And of course, the other cache, like if using Vercel, for example, is the Vercel cache as well that can be handled in this case.
Thank you. I have a question about Next. Is there any reason or incompatibility to use the new app router? Is there any reason why you use the old pages router, or are you using version 13 or another version?
No, I'm using version 13, so it's the latest I'm using. But for this demo, because the Umami demo is based on the Pages app, I just kept the page. So on the Pages folder, I just kept the Pages. In fact, in my folder structure, I added the app as well. But because on the demo is in Pages and I need to show the code will be in Pages, I will just kept that one. Okay. Yeah. So basically, it won't work with the server components.
Yes. Yeah, so I won't work with server components yet. The guys at Chapter 3 and also on the Next.js channel on Slack are talking about working into it for the app directory support, 'cause they see that as quite an important functionality, especially with Next.js promoting that this is the new way to build stuff. So it should come soon, but I'm not sure how soon.
Thanks, Alex. Any other question? Hello? I think he's off. Off? The microphone is off.
Do you want this one? Okay. I think there are not any more questions. Great.
Thank you.
Yes, I will share the slides. I will share the slides.